Everyone. Today we're diving into chapter 4 of the IGCSE syllabus, biological molecules. Okay, so you need to understand that biological molecules are basically chemicals that are found in living organisms. Okay, so we're going to look at the four different types: carbohydrate, lipids or fat, protein, and nucleic acid or DNA. Okay, so what's the main thing that you need to know? If there's one thing that you need to understand from this topic is the idea that you can build larger molecule from small molecules. Okay, so here's where the term monomers and polymers come in. Okay, so you can join these many small molecules to form polymers. Okay, think of it like Lego blocks. Okay, one Lego blocks, you join them together, you can make a complex structure like a house, a castle, or whatever. Okay, so let's look at the first biological molecule here, carbohydrate. Okay, so these are some examples of food that contains carbohydrate: bread, potato, pasta. To remember the elements, I want you to remember chons. Okay, so carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are found in carbohydrate and lipid, with slightly less oxygen in lipid. Okay, and protein has some additional nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus in them as well. The monomers for carbohydrate is monosaccharide, okay, or simple sugar, okay, or example being glucose. So you can see in the structure here how the glucose has carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in them. Okay, so this has a role in being the immediate or main source of energy in living organism. If we were to join these monosaccharide together, we would get disaccharide. Okay, example being like sucrose, which is how we use it in our tea, right? So maybe after this, you can say, can I have a spoon of sucrose? Okay, instead of just saying sugar. And if you were to join these monosaccharides together, you would get a more complex structure. So either starch, glycogen, or cellulose. Okay, I want you to remember potatoes, for example, of starch. Yes, so this would be the form of energy storage in plants. This is how plants store energy, okay, in the form of starch. Okay, in human or in animals, we store it in the form of glycogen. Okay, so glycogen is basically just many glucose that are joined together. Okay, and then cellulose, this is found in the cell walls of plant. Okay, so again, this is many glucose joined together. Okay, so if I were to ask you what is the monomer for carbohydrate, what would be your answer? The answer should be simple sugar or monosaccharide or glucose. Okay, let's try one questions on this. What are the smaller basic unit of starch and glycogen molecule? Okay, so your answer to this should be D. Okay, because remember starch and glycogens are made up of glucose. Let's move on to the next one, lipids or fat. Okay, so they tend to have a bad rep, but you can actually find good fats as well, like in avocado, olive oil. Okay, they can have a health benefit there as well. Okay, so fats and oils, okay, also known as lipids. Okay, remember that they have CHO in them, okay, but with slightly less oxygen. Okay, and they are made up of one glycerol and three fatty acids, as you can see in this image here. The role that they play is, firstly, in energy storage, okay, but they also have a role in making cell membrane and insulation. So remember this image here of a seal? Okay, so they have like a layer of fat under their skin. Okay, so this is to keep them warm. Next, let's move on to protein. So these are some examples of proteins: chicken, nuts, eggs, and milk, right? Okay, so I want you to remember bodybuilders, okay, because they consume a lot of protein shake, and this is to help them build muscle. Okay, so protein actually have a lot more diverse roles we're going to see after this. Okay, what you need to understand for proteins are they just made up of a sequence of amino acids. So many small amino acids joined together. Okay, so the plural of, or the function of proteins are a bit more diverse. Okay, remember enzymes are made up of protein. Hemoglobin, which is a protein found in red blood cell, okay, that binds to oxygen, is also made up of protein. And then antibodies. So this is very important in your immune system. Okay, your hair also, okay, is made up of a protein known as keratin. Okay, your skin made up of something known as collagen. Okay, so this is a summary of what we've covered so far. Okay, so remember chons for the elements, and for the monomers, monosaccharides or simple sugar or glucose. Lipids are made up of fatty acid and glycerol, and proteins are made up of amino acid. Okay, next, we move on to our last biological molecule here, nucleic acid. Thankfully, in the IGCSE syllabus, you don't need to know the monomers for nucleic acid, although if you are curious, it's nucleotides. Yeah, we only need to know about one example of nucleic acid, which is DNA. Okay, so what you need to know is about the structure. So as you can see here, DNA has a double helix. And that's basically just two strands that are joined together by complementary base pairing. Okay, so you can see how in the middle here, right, there are bases and they are joined a certain way. A always with T, G always with C. Okay, and what does this ATGC actually tells you is, it's actually a code to make protein. Okay, so this protein will be important for determining your characteristic, like what hair color you have, what eye color. Okay, so in other words, we say that DNA contains the genetic material, okay, and it's found in the nucleus. Finally, we move on to the last part of this syllabus, the last part of this topic, okay, which is the food test. It's actually very easy once you get the hang of it. Okay, so remember this image here of the potato, okay, because potato has starch in it. Okay, so you can test this with iodine. So the iodine color would be orange or brown, okay, and if it's positive, it would turn to blue-black. The Benedict test, okay, here it starts off blue, okay, and when you heat it, okay, remember this is the only test where you have to heat it, okay, it will actually turn color to green, orange, or brick red if there's a high amount of reducing sugar or glucose in it. Okay, and then we have the ethanol emulsion test for the lipid. So basically, what you do is you mix a sample with ethanol, so that's going to dissolve any lipids if it's present. Okay, if it's present, and then you're going to add water to it, and it's going to form a cloudy emulsion if there's any fat or lipid in it. Okay, and finally, for the protein test, okay, you test it with burette. Okay, so remember R in protein, R in burette. Okay, so it starts off blue and it will turn to purple. So remember purple, P for purple, P for protein. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Okay, so you might need to go over this, test yourself, do some active recall. Okay, but that's essentially what you need to know for this chapter. Okay, bye. Good luck.